Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to this week's episode of Industry Chats. And I am very grateful to Stephanie for clearing a little bit of time in her schedule to join us last minute. Hi, Steph.
Hi, I thought you said nappy Wednesday, and I was like, naps? We get naps? So
We're gonna take
excited.
a nap after today. We have a crazy day.
Yes, very much so. Very big day.
Yeah, we had a bit of a change of schedule, and Stephanie and I were talking yesterday, and I was like, "Do you want to be on Industry Chats tomorrow?" And you were cool with it. So
Yeah,
welcome, welcome.
thanks. I'm glad to be back.
I know you were just on.
I know, it's so exciting.
Okay, so couple things. First of all, we did not rehearse or do a pre-show on this because it was last minute.
And I'm the one that's like, what questions are you going to ask? What are we going to talk about? How's this going to work? And
I
I
know.
didn't. I'm proud of myself. I was like, wait.
You did great. I was waiting. I was like, when am I going to get the message? Of like, what's our plan? But we are like fresh on the heels of like soft launching, announcing a new product yesterday, and we have 3 demos for said product in the next 24 hours, and then and so we're kind of like, okay, we can do this, but I digress. So we actually had something that's been coming up a lot lately is going back to the roots of like why we started Affixify to be an unbiased platform. And so we thought we would kind of converse about that today. And if you're joining us live, I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. But for those that don't know, we are a completely unbiased algorithm-based research platform where you can find various partnerships in hospitality. So it used to be just tech. We've emerged and evolved quite a bit. So you can find everything from asset managers to management companies, consultants, and of course, lots of different tech partners. But interesting how we've had to go kind of like over and over, reiterate the message to our industry of like, no, we're completely unbiased. And so one of the very first users we ever had after we launched almost 2 years ago, he said, like, I'm just curious, I got like a 90% match to this PMS vendor. Did they pay you for that? And like, did they pay for that 90%? And we're like, no. And then I remember we found ourselves a little surprised, like, what? And then now as we've evolved, we're like, oh, well, that's actually, kind of the assumption.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been having these internal conversations about never assuming everybody knows that's kind of what we do and why we do it. And so we thought we'd open it up today for that discussion. But Steph, what have you seen just like in the landscape, especially because you talk to vendors every day?
All the time.
What is the sentiment they have behind how biased, our industry is towards choosing different partners?
I mean, I think the one thing that I hear after every demo that I do is, oh, wow, so we are all an even playing field. I think it's twofold of the buyer is in control of, for one, who they're going to reach out to. So not everyone is getting the lead. We're not sending the connection request in an order based on who pays more. Like none of that happens. And I think it's pretty refreshing whenever I'm talking to partners of them understanding and getting that. Like you see that moment where it clicks and they're like, oh, wait, this is really because they want to talk to me. I'm like, yeah. And because your product meant something to them in whatever way that is. And it's not always the highest algorithm score. Sometimes it's a middle of the road algorithm score because they hadn't heard of that tech or they didn't know this certain thing. So I think that's what makes it really, really interesting. The other thing that I hear with partners is, I mean, of course, in negotiation and sales, right? They're like, well, what if I give you a % of the deal instead of paying for that connection request fee? And I'm like, no, every partner pays the same thing. And I think that's very special to us. Special is probably not the right word, but it's silly when I came up with. Like, everybody's on the same playing field. Yeah. That connection request costs the same amount for every single person that is sent that the buyer is interested in talking to, right? And one category costs the same as another category. Like, it's all fair game from that standpoint. Right. The only thing that's different is our onboarding fees based on product and how robust they can be, but everything else is the same. And everyone gets the same opportunities from an article standpoint or coming on LinkedIn Live. Like, it's fair across the board. And that's something we really stick to whenever it comes to partner conversations, as well as like our stance in the industry.
Yeah. Well, and I think the onboarding fee, people get confused. That's not a pay to play. Like that's literally because we validate
Correct.
the vendor, which is why our third parties and our consultants are paying significantly less to onboard because there's not that tech validation piece.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like a rabbit hole, but worth talking about that, in our research, a consultant would be paid upwards of $7,000 to $12,000 for the vetting that we're doing. And so we do, it takes a lot, your time. I mean, it takes a lot of your time, and occasionally you'll bring in like someone else on the team, but it's a big thing. However, once it's done, you're vetted and there's a trusted connection. So
absolutely.
I remember, living in the vendor world for so long, because now it's like Affixify is not really a vendor. We're kind of this like middleman, I guess. But at Digital Alchemy, our former company, like it was a gut punch when you found out there was a CRM RFP out that you didn't get included in, but you think you really could have had a chance, and we thankfully at that company, we were established enough. We typically got into the RFPs, but I mean, I just saw this a week ago, and I'll be very light on detail here. We're very careful about that, but I found out about an RFP that was being done, and I know the person doing it, and I know for a fact that there was, there could have been more players included. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this is why we're here, is because we also serve, you said, level the playing field as a way to be discovered whenever you might not be the household name, but there's still amazing tech being provided.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's hard on the vendors when they're just like, I didn't even know it was an option to pitch my product to X,
100%. And I think one of the things that I find very unique about what we're doing is we have several platforms, several vendors in our system who are new to market.
Yeah.
I onboarded one last week before, I don't even know what day it is, at some point recently. And when I first talked to them 18 months ago, they didn't even have a full-blown product yet. They were a lot of concepts, and their customers were helping drive their development, which is absolutely amazing that they took that approach. Their product now, when I onboarded them, I was amazed by how far it's come, but they don't have a name in the industry completely yet, right? So they are the perfect tech provider to be discovered through Affixify, who doesn't have $1 million marketing budget, who hasn't been in the industry for 20 years. Them as individuals they have contacts, obviously they're doing a really great job, but their platform itself is really, really awesome. How do you get that message out there without having a tech like ours?
Right. Well, actually, I know who you're talking about now. And that same vendor, they showed up as the top vendor in 2 searches last week. 2 searches for that category. They were the number one. 100% match on one of those, and I think 90 on one of them. And I mean, that's the beauty of the algorithm, is we're not having to say like, oh, you should check them out because of these reasons. Like, it speaks for itself. The algorithm, both of these people redid their search, and both times that vendor was at the very top. So that's why we did the percent match, is so that we can just be hands off. And I think that a lot of times, tell me and give me your take on this, I will use the term like David and Goliath, or like the parallel, a lot, because it is hard, right? We don't take money to put you in our newsletter. We don't take money to put you on industry chats. But why is that? Because we're very serious about our commitment to not having bias. And if you're paying us, tons of money, which is just the reality of paid marketing, to be on our newsletter banner, like that
feels biased.
Kind of look like we're recommending.
Yeah. And it's been a struggle too, because we want to do industry days. We want to do happy hours. We want to do all these other things to not only help our brand grow, but to really yell at the rooftops about the vendors that we have in our system. And we always come back to the same thing. How do we do that in an unbiased way? Do we have to invite all 100 vendors in our platform? And what do we do if all 100 accept? How do we manage that kind of an event? Like, we're just not ready for that. So it is very strategic, I would say, on how we navigate this. Like, we want to do vendor days, and we want to do a webinar where all of our sales and catering vendors can come and speak. What order do they go in? If someone goes first, does that feel biased? Like, we have these questions constantly, all the time.
We literally did alphabetical order on our vendor page. That it's just like an internal page, right? Where that's not public, but that we're sending if people want it. And it's like, it has to be alphabetical because we want to make sure.
Yeah.
But I think the benefit is, and someone told me last year that what we're doing is going to take a little longer because it is unbiased, but in the long run is going to be so much better because we're not like there. We can hopefully we're trying to create trust. We're trying to be. I hope that there's a day, and I told you this last week, where when an RFP is in play anywhere in hospitality, the first stop is Affixify to make sure that all players are included.
Yeah. Well, and I think outside of that too, we could also help with an RFP on the features. I can't imagine, like, I'm sure there's a template out there somewhere, but whoever created that template with the 8 tabs at the bottom and tried to figure out what all these systems needed to do, like, why we have a feature catalog.
We have it.
Like, we have it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of when this whole thing started too. Remember, we were, I was consulting. We were talking about doing a consulting firm together. And then I, for a client, did an RFP. And I was like, where's the part of this RFP where you can see who's your best fit? And I remember I was like, this is our idea because this doesn't like show anything but yes or no, yes or no.
Right.
And that's where our whole algorithm came up. And then, we of course were like, this is crazy. Not to mention, and we have to be cautious how we say this, but like, we also have to wonder, and I think we need to scrutinize a little bit the tendency, and maybe it's not just hospitality, of like going with people because you have like a partnership place. Well, yeah, and that there's a benefit. And so it's like, to me, I think the best third parties in hospitality and beyond are the ones that don't take any sort of cut if they sign with a certain vendor, because they're actually choosing the right, platform for that vendor. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah. And we've heard that happen too, where, we've had individuals that we've talked to and they're like, this is the best fit. And I don't even have a partnership agreement with them, but I'm recommending them because it is the best fit. That's the premise of why we're here.
Yes, exactly. And whatever, partnership agreements, nothing against that. It's just that if it creates a bias towards those, that's when there's a problem. Like, I think there has to be a consideration for everybody on the table. And if you're hired as a third party to do that, you take yourself out of it and you go with what's right for the hotel and the owner.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw something the other day about, going based off of the sales. I don't remember. It was on LinkedIn, of course, but going off of the salesperson's demo, and oh my gosh, shiny object. They meet all of my needs because the salesperson did an amazing job. And the platform spoke volumes the way the salesperson demoed it. Then they do their implementation. 6 months down the road, they're still creating workarounds. They're still trying to figure out how to make this thing work, right? Oh, that doesn't work that way that you thought, because now that your hands are in it, it feels different.
Yeah.
So using a technology to be your first salesperson, your discovery process. This is your short list. We talk about short lists all the time. That, I think, is a stronger play than going straight to the demo. Let you see what features are available or not. They're validated. That my eyeballs have seen them, and I have it on video somewhere.
Yeah.
So
we record.
Absolutely. We record everything. So it's one of those things that you can trust it and then use that as your basis. And I think there's power there on you're doing the demo, you're talking to the salesperson, and what if they're going through something that was a miss on the algorithm? Maybe we need to update our listing. Fine, give you some grace. But on the other side of it, maybe it's something that's in the roadmap or won't be released for another couple of months, but it's shown because it's available in their demo environment. We do that. We have a product that's in a demo environment right now. So I think that there's got to be this level of intelligence from the person that's looking for the software to say, I want to learn more about that thing. Is it live? Can I use it? Because they have documentation and they have material to be able to go off of. If that makes sense. I feel like that was a very long.
I actually have a question for you, because I'm not the one doing the vendor validations. Do you allow a workaround? Like, if someone says, I do this, and you say, show me, and they're like, well, you have to do these 3 things. How do we take that?
If we can get to the end goal and they can produce the end goal, then I think it's fair. I have had instances where they say, oh, yes, I do that. And, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the feature is not worded correctly and they think it means something, but it actually means this, right? And they've said, well, it doesn't do it that exactly. And I'm like, well, then let's build a feature of what it does exactly. That is not that thing. So we do try to take caution on that. And the way that our process works is our partners will go into our catalog, pick what they say that they have, I go through knowledge base, I go through their demo environment, we get on a live demo, and we go
Yeah.
my item. And
Good.
then I end up adding things to the catalog because everybody does something unique and special. That's the point too. Our algorithm can't be 100 for everyone. So when we add things to the catalog, I go back to our existing partners and say, hey, you might want to check out our catalog because it's grown, right? So it's an ongoing process. And I have some partners that send me, here's my last 6 months of work release notes. And I'm like, great, send me your material to back those up if it's not properly, available whenever it comes to how they do their release notes. But it's onboarding is always going on.
Yeah,
Always.
it's an ongoing onboarding.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
All the time. But I actually think, something that I love, and we talk about not everyone can be 100%. So if you're just tuning in, right, like we have an algorithm that matches what is this person looking for a partnership or tech need, and then what percent match with the different vendors we offer. So I love on a demo when it doesn't show up 100%. And it rarely does, because it just shows like the other day I'm on a demo and it was 63% was the highest match. And I was like, there you go. I mean, we have no say over that. And of course we encourage, look at your, what do these matches do and what do they not do, and make sure like these are not deal breakers. Right. But it is really interesting how that will come into play, because sometimes it's hard because we want them to connect. Like our whole premise is connecting people, but sometimes someone's not going to connect on a lower match, but that's the reality of it. I mean, that's why
and it doesn't always make that score bad.
No.
A lower score isn't necessarily bad. And I think the vendor side of it, they're going to see over time. I mean, we have some development to do to produce the report at this scale, but they're going to be able to see, what is the market asking for? How does that line up to your roadmap in the future? And, I've always been on the product side. So my brain has always been like, everyone's telling me what I should do. What should I really do?
Yeah.
And we say that a lot. We hear people all the time that, oh, you should do this into your platform and do this into your platform. I'm like, how many times have we heard it? Have we heard it once? Have we heard it 12? Like, let's really think through these things, because what we do matters, especially with our tiny team. And I think from the larger scale too, I remember having customers tell me, leadership tell me, so-and-so, this one key account voice matters more than this other person. Like, that's a lot to manage. So if I could see what is the market actually asking for, like that would weigh so much more. Sorry, customers, but it would weigh more than my customers telling me.
Well, two things come to my mind. One is, to your point, like if we were to have changed everything that's been suggested to us over the last 20 months, we wouldn't even have we would just have, I can't even begin to even think, like we would have like something that's not Affixify.
We'd be on a hamster wheel constantly, because we get feedback every week and we love it. Like, don't get me wrong, but we have to take it and scrutinize it and make sure that it makes sense for what our values are and what we're trying to do.
Well, and I think what we're trying to do is really thorough. Whereas I know there's some like listing sites that they just do the listing on behalf of the vendor and they might put in what they know, but like we don't accept that. We want as close to the real facts as we can.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I just think about is, we're kind of like teasing this new product and we're working on the early adopter stage right now. We're so excited. But one thing we had to come together on at the very beginning, because for those who don't know our background, like I was the head of sales and Steph was the head of ops for years. Like we were counterparts, and we did very well at that, by the way. I think we did very well at that. But I will tend to hear what someone says and be like, we got to do this because that's what they need. But we've come together, I think, done a good job of like, if this suggestion on our new product is actually going to be for the betterment of every future customer, we should do it. But if it's just for the one use case here, then maybe we don't, or that's like custom paid development,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's hard for us. We want to please everyone. That's why we're here. We want to build connections. We want to bring this industry together. Like, we want to please everyone. So there has to be this layer of lens that goes on top of it to say, can I still satisfy the people's needs? Like, can we still give the people what they want, but maybe not in the way they wanted it? So it's just something that we have to always, I don't want to say debate, but like really think through. And I love our developer. He will test us. I was on our dev call last week. We do it on Monday nights. And, he was like, well, why do you want that report? And I was like, well, because the people told me. And he's like, well, how many times have they, like, he pushes back too. And I think that's so healthy for us.
Well, we also have a very unique, I think it's unique dynamic in that the three of us worked together forever at our former company.
Over a decade.
So, yes. And so like we did these exact roles in a different company where he was over development, right? So we all did the same thing. So we've had a lot of practice. And I think everybody knows when I come into a call, I'm going to give a wish list because of all the lovely, fluffy things I hear. And then everybody knows that you're going to have to ask the questions. And then he knows he's going to have to execute it. So he really, like, it's kind of nice that we've had that experience. Yeah. But anyway, I think one thing we've always been unwavering on is this unbiased approach. And I think it's worth talking about because this is where people ask, well, if you're unbiased, I just had this, how are you going to talk about me and promote me? And I think what's important is we're not trying to promote single vendors, but we are promoting categories. So for example, like we're going to launch an email once a month where we just highlight a category, right? Like, did you know? Does not mean we're saying, talk to this one vendor.
Right.
Like, hey, did you know that now in our guest engagement category, there's some AI, like some really cool things. You should go check it out. Educating, I find that too, especially in like new builds when they're trying to just weed through what do they actually need from a tech perspective. Like, let's go through a category by category and tell you what those are. And then you can go in and do your search. So I think that's important to note as well. And you may even have more to say on that because
I hear it a lot of whenever it comes to articles, like, well, can we write an article every month? And I'm like, hey, I'm one person. Like, sure, but I'm one person. So I try my best to like write articles that are well-rounded and I can include multiple vendors in it. We do announce new partnerships as they come in. So there's a newsletter spotlight. Obviously, we do it on the rundown. They're always welcome to come onto LinkedIn Live. I think it's just a matter of that's the name drop, so to speak.
Yeah.
But they never paid us for that name drop. They never paid us to make that email. Like, it's something that we're showing that the platform is growing and we're trying to build curiosity among everyone in hospitality of, oh, I haven't heard of them before. What do they do? Maybe I need to go research this category. You might find out what they do, but you might also find out what your existing vendor just released. Like,
yes,
there's a lot of opportunity here.
Before we unveiled the names, so when we first launched, we hid the names of the vendors so that it could really be unbiased to where someone would request a connection but not know with who. But that didn't pan out for us, and that's okay. But
it's fine.
That didn't work. But yeah, one of our first shoppers chose his current provider that he was looking to replace. And we told him, we're like, before just so you know, and he's like, I don't care. That's great. Like, he learned that they did what he needed.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's the last thing I'll say. And I feel like this is great. This is like a glimpse into one of our daily,
except for we're on a walk.
We're always on a walk. But, I had a consultant yesterday who I respect deeply, and I won't say who just because I didn't get his permission, but he so impressed me. So he's doing an RFP for new tech stack, not RFP really, but like new tech stack build. And he said, oh, I already know like the main players in this one category, but I'm still using Affixify because I can make sure that I've fully vetted it. And like, that gave me pause because I thought that is the exact right approach, not because he's using us, but because he knows he has contacts. He's been in the industry forever. He doesn't necessarily need our contacts there. But what he wants to do is for this use case, for this particular client of his, he might have the idea, but he wants to make sure because he's making a recommendation for their investment.
And that's his name on it. His recommendation is his name. Yeah. So why wouldn't he want the data to back it up?
Yeah. And I think, and like this particular consultant is like so busy and gets so much business, but like you can see why, because I think he can be trusted when he's put at a table with these owners. So that's the right way. And I would say, I think we can confidently say there is a right way now and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah. We've grown ourselves even so much over the last, I think you said 22 months. You were like, I don't know the exact number, but it's 22 months. And I'm like, that's a pretty exact number.
It is actually.
So like, think about where we were E20X 2024 to where we are now. And, going into this high tech season, like, I think our product has come a long way and it's been based on our customers telling us. And so in the same way, our vendors' customers could go see what they've evolved into by using us, even if it is their current vendor. Like, I think that's totally fine. And it just gives everybody more information. And that's the goal.
That's the goal. And I think our biggest next, I don't even know if it's an obstacle, is like we've created a ton of brand recognition, but really pouring in some dollars to like more reach, because what we also hear all the time is, I mean, all the time, I would say weekly, oh, I wish I knew this existed, or oh, I really could have used this 3 months ago when I was finding a PMS. Or so our next goal is that like we are the go-to. And someone told me, you're kind of changing buyer behavior, so that's going to take time. But kind of like now, I mean, I'm not getting into the OTA battle, but now I think everybody tends to go to various sites to book travel, whether that's direct or not. We know to go direct, but like it's kind of second nature to check Expedia or whatever. Sorry, don't kill me, guys. But we want to be that. Like we kind of want to be second nature, that when someone's going out for new membership, they immediately know to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the difference too of it being a platform and not a person. We get asked a lot, or I do, like, so are you guys consultants? And I'm like, we do some consulting, I guess, when we talk about the categories and we talk about what it could be used for. And oh, what are you looking for? Wait, that's not really what you think that it is. You should look here instead, as far as type of product or type of vendor. But no, we are a platform. We are a software company.
I think that is true, because another prospective client, anyway, they said, oh, I didn't even know. I thought you guys were consultants. And it's like, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, we're a platform, and
you have to log into it.
You have to log in.
Like you have to have a login.
Your users. Yeah. We know when someone joins that shouldn't be joining.
Yeah.
But truthfully, I mean, we do. And as we grow, we'll continue to have a process around how this all looks, but it's exciting. And even we shared this on our webinar yesterday for our customers, but just so anyone else knows, just launching a second product does not change what we're doing now. It's actually in complement to. And so I've had to share, like, this is not a pivot. It's an exciting addition to what we're doing. So the OG marketplace, as we call it, still has a ton of growth and future ahead of it.
Yeah. Our OG is almost 2, and we're going to have a newborn again. So fun.
Oh, it's crazy. That's why we've been working nights again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sleepless nights.
I know. Well, this is it. We were like, do we have enough content to cover this show? We went over. So thank you, Steph, for jumping in last minute, talking about the unbiased approach to tech selection. We will keep hammering the message over and over. If you are watching now or later and you do have an RFP going out, please consider checking out Affixify to find some new players for that. You might be really surprised, or even you might find that your current vendor is doing more than you realize. So we are confidential. We do not share that you have been searching unless you want us to share. So that's all. You're in the driver's seat, all you. And if you're a consultant and you find our message refreshing, we would love to have you on as well to help your clients. And we will be back next week with my dear friend Omar. So he is the founder of Studio Circa. He always brings the best industry chat. So he was on with us last year and one of our first guests. And this time he's going to talk to us about branding concepts and the guest experience and identity. If you've ever seen Omar's work at Studio Circa, he has done some unreal branding and identity for luxury hotels around the world, and other hotels. He is like brilliant. He actually did kind of a brand mock-up for Affixify if we ever want to evolve, and it was really impressive. So I can't wait to
I remember the last time you talked with him on industry chats and you came off of it and you were like, oh my gosh, this guy. Like, I bet you're so excited to talk to him again.
I'm so excited. And I think he's like one of our top 3 most watched guests. So it'll be fun to have Omar back. But awesome. Steph, thanks for anything else, any parting words? I know I always throw her on the spot.
You too? I don't know. I got nothing.
Okay. Well, we'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody.